Months passed after the battle, and life began to settle into a fragile rhythm. Earth's skies were clear once more, but the scars of war lingered in every corner of human society. Cities rebuilt their shattered streets, families mourned loved ones, and children grew up hearing stories of the day humanity stood against an alien armada and won. Yet for Captain Alex Carter and his crew aboard the *SS Vanguard*, there was little time for rest. The Krylos Collective had retreated, but no one believed they were gone for good. Alex stood on the observation deck, staring out at the stars. The vast emptiness of space no longer felt like a promise of adventure. It was a reminder of how small and vulnerable humanity truly was. "We got lucky," he said aloud, though no one else was there to hear him. "Next time, we might not be so fortunate." Emma Hayes joined him moments later, carrying a tablet filled with updates from the research teams analyzing alien technology. Her face was tired but hopeful, her mind always racing toward solutions. "We're learning," she said, holding up the device. "Every piece of tech we salvaged teaches us something new. If the Krylos come back, we'll be better prepared." Alex nodded, glancing at the screen. Scientists had made breakthroughs in energy shielding, propulsion systems, and even weapons design, all thanks to the captured alien tech. Humanity's ships were still far from matching the Krylos' power, but progress was being made. For the first time, Alex allowed himself to feel a flicker of optimism. Maybe, just maybe, they could turn the tide if another fight came. Ryan Brooks had thrown himself into the upgrades, working alongside engineers and researchers to integrate alien innovations into human vessels. His hands moved deftly over tools and circuits, his focus unshakable. "If I have to spend the rest of my life fixing junk to keep us alive, so be it," he muttered one evening as sparks flew from his workstation. "But this junk is going to sing before I'm done." Jake Monroe, too, had found purpose in the aftermath of the battle. He spent his days training new recruits, teaching them the hit-and-run tactics that had helped bring down the Krylos flagship. Though he rarely spoke of Maria or the others who had fallen, his dedication to the cause spoke volumes. "They gave everything," he told a group of young pilots during a training session. "Our job is to make sure it wasn't wasted." General Nathan Fields addressed humanity in a global broadcast, his voice steady and resolute. "We faced the darkness and refused to yield," he declared. "But this is not the end. It is only the beginning. We must honor those we lost by building a future worth fighting for." As weeks turned into months, the galaxy remained eerily quiet. The Krylos did not return, leaving behind only questions. Had they underestimated humanity? Were they regrouping for another attack? Or had they decided humans were more trouble than they were worth? No one knew, and that uncertainty weighed heavily on everyone. One evening, Alex gathered his senior crew for dinner in the mess hall. The room buzzed with conversation, laughter mingling with memories of battles fought and friendships forged. For a brief moment, the weight of responsibility lifted, replaced by camaraderie and shared purpose. When the meal ended, Emma stepped outside onto the deck, gazing up at the stars. Alex joined her, standing silently by her side. "Do you think we'll see peace in our lifetime?" she asked softly. Alex exhaled slowly, his breath visible in the cool night air. "I don't know," he admitted. "But I do know this. We've proven we can stand together. That's something no one can take away from us." Emma smiled faintly, her eyes reflecting the distant glow of the Milky Way. "Then maybe that's enough. For now." The galaxy stretched endlessly before them, full of mysteries and dangers yet unknown. But for the first time in a long while, humanity looked to the stars not with fear, but with hope. They had survived the storm, and whatever came next, they would face it together. The battlefield was littered with the remains of ships, both human and alien. Fires burned in the cold vacuum of space, their glow a haunting reminder of the lives lost. The Krylos flagship was gone, its destruction sending shockwaves through the armada. Without their command center to guide them, The alien fleet began to retreat, pulling back toward the edge of the solar system. But the victory felt hollow. Captain Alex Carter stood on the bridge of the *SS Vanguard*, his hands gripping the railing as he watched the remnants of the enemy fleet disappear into the distance. His face was pale, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion and grief. "We did it," he said quietly, though the words carried little triumph. The cost had been too high. Too many lives sacrificed for this fragile moment of survival. Emma Hayes sat at her station, staring blankly at the screen in front of her. Her mind replayed the faces of those they had lost: Maria Lopez, Sam Collins, and countless others whose names she barely knew, but whose courage had saved humanity. She clenched her fists tightly, trying to hold back tears. "It's not over," she whispered to herself. "Not yet." Ryan Brooks limped onto the bridge, his uniform singed, and his face streaked with soot. He collapsed into a chair, letting out a long sigh. "Well, that was fun," he muttered sarcastically, though there was no humor in his voice. His usual gruff demeanor was replaced by a somber weariness. "What now?" Alex turned to face him, his expression grim. "Now we clean up the mess. We repair what we can, bury our dead, and prepare for whatever comes next. If the Krylos come back, and they will, we need to be ready." General Nathan Field's voice crackled over the comms, breaking the silence. "Earth is safe for now," he said, his tone heavy with relief. "But we can't let our guard down. The Krylos may have retreated, but they won't stay away forever. Humanity owes you all a debt we can never repay." Emma nodded slowly, her thoughts turning to the future. "We've proven we can fight them," she said aloud, more to herself than anyone else. "But fighting isn't enough. If we want to survive, not just today, but tomorrow, we need to adapt, to grow stronger, smarter." Alex listened silently, his gaze fixed on the stars beyond the viewport. He knew Emma was right. This battle had shown humanity's resilience, but it had also exposed its weaknesses. Their ships were outdated, their technology inferior, and their numbers far too few to face the Krylos again without change. Over the next few days, the surviving fleet regrouped around Earth's orbit. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair damaged vessels, while scientists studied salvaged alien tech, hoping to reverse engineer it. Ryan spent hours in the engineering bay, his frustration giving way to determination as he pieced together new ideas. "If we can figure out how their shields work, we might stand a real chance next time," he told Emma one evening, holding up a strange device he'd scavenged from an alien wreck. Meanwhile, Jake Monroe wandered the corridors of the *SS Vanguard*, his usual swagger replaced by quiet reflection. He stopped by the memorial wall, where the names of the fallen were etched into metal plates. Running a hand over Maria's name, he murmured, "You didn't die for nothing. I promise." Back on Earth, people began to rebuild. Cities scared by the brief invasion slowly came back to life, their streets filled with stories of heroism and sacrifice. News of the fleet's victory spread quickly, igniting a renewed sense of hope among the population. Humanity had faced extinction and refused to back down, a testament to its spirit. As the weeks passed, Alex gathered his crew for one final meeting. Standing before them, he spoke with quiet resolve. "This war has changed us, all of us. It's taken things we'll never get back. But it's also shown us who we are: survivors, fighters, and if the Krylos return, we'll be waiting." Emma looked around the room, seeing the same determination in every face. They were battered and bruised, but they were still standing. Together, they had proven that even the smallest spark could ignite a fire strong enough to drive back the darkness. For now, the galaxy was quiet, but everyone knew the peace wouldn't last. When the storm returned, humanity would be ready. The Krylos Collective was not used to failure. For centuries, they had crushed civilizations without mercy, their vast armada a symbol of unstoppable power. But now, humanity, a species they dismissed as pests, had dealt them blow after blow. The sabotage of their superweapon was the final insult, and it enraged them. Determined to end the rebellion once and for all, the Krylos launched a desperate assault on Earth itself. From the command center orbiting Jupiter, General Nathan Fields watched in horror as the alien fleet bypassed the outer defenses and surged toward the blue planet below. "They're going straight for the heart," he muttered, his voice heavy with dread. "If they reach Earth, it's over." Captain Alex Carter stood beside him, his jaw clenched as he studied the tactical display. The human fleet was battered but unbroken, its ships scattered across the solar system after weeks of hit-and-run attacks. Now they had no choice but to rally for one last stand. "We can't let them get any closer," Alex said firmly. "If we don't stop them here, there won't be another chance." Emma Hayes worked quickly to coordinate the remaining ships, her hands flying over the controls. Every vessel capable of flight was called into action, from retrofitted cargo haulers to patched-up mining drones. Even civilians volunteered, stepping up to man the guns or pilot the ships. It was a ragtag armada, but it was all they had left. As the human fleet moved into position, Jake Monroe cracked a grim smile. "Guess this is it," he said, glancing at Ryan Brooks, who was busy double-checking the weapons systems aboard their ship. "One last ride." Ryan didn't look up. "Yeah, well, if we're going down, let's make sure we take a few of them with us." The battle began with a deafening roar of engines and explosions. The Krylos ships loomed like mountains against the backdrop of space, their weapons tearing through the smaller human vessels with devastating force. But the humans fought back with everything they had, darting between the massive alien cruisers and striking vital targets before vanishing into the chaos. Alex led the charge aboard the SS Vanguard *, weaving through enemy fire with expert precision. His voice crackled over the comms as he directed the fleet. "Stay close. Don't let them surround you." Each order was met with determination, even as ships on both sides were torn apart by the relentless barrage. Amid the chaos, Emma noticed something unusual. The Krylos flagship, larger than any other vessel in the fleet, seemed to be coordinating the attack. Its movements were deliberate, almost cautious. "That's their command center," she realized aloud. "If we can disable it, we might break their formation." Alex nodded, his eyes narrowing. "It's risky, but it's our best shot." "Jake, Ryan, you're with me. We're taking that ship down." The trio broke away from the main fleet, heading straight for the towering alien vessel. Enemy fighters swarmed around them, forcing Jake to pull off daring maneuvers just to stay alive. "This thing handles like a brick," he shouted, yanking the controls hard to avoid a blast. Ryan focused on targeting the flagship's shields, firing bursts of energy until they finally collapsed. "Shields are down," he yelled. "Now's your chance." Alex didn't hesitate. He guided the ship toward the flagship's exposed hull, launching a volley of missiles directly into its core. Explosions rippled across the surface, sending shockwaves through the surrounding area. The alien ship listed heavily, its once imposing presence faltering under the relentless assault. But the victory came at a cost. A stray blast struck their ship, sending flames erupting through the cabin. Ryan scrambled to contain the damage while Jake fought to keep them airborne. "We've got incoming," Jake warned, spotting a squadron of enemy fighters closing in. Just as it seemed they wouldn't make it, reinforcements arrived. Maria Lopez's old squadron swooped in, drawing the enemy fire away from Alex's crew. "Get out of there," a pilot shouted over the comms. "We'll cover you." With their ship barely holding together, Alex and his team limped back toward the fleet. Behind them, the Krylos flagship erupted in a brilliant explosion, its destruction throwing the alien armada into disarray. The tide of the battle had turned, but the cost was staggering. Ships on both sides lay broken and drifting, their crews lost to the void. Back aboard the SS Vanguard *, Alex stared at the carnage through the viewport, his heart heavy with grief. They had won the battle, but the scars would remain forever. Still, amidst the wreckage, there was hope. Humanity had proven it could fight and win against impossible odds. And as long as they refused to give up, the Krylos would never truly conquer them. Emma Hayes spent hours poring over data, searching for any clue that might give humanity an edge against the Krylos collective. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard, analyzing patterns in the alien fleet's movements. Something about their behavior seemed off, too deliberate, too calculated. It wasn't just about overwhelming force. They were guarding something. But what? Her breakthrough came when Jake Monroe returned from a daring reconnaissance mission. He had risked his life sneaking into an alien supply convoy, managing to plant a tracking device on one of their cargo ships before narrowly escaping. The device transmitted vital information back to the SS Vanguard *, and Emma wasted no time decoding it. "What did you find?" Alex asked as he entered the command center, noticing the intensity in Emma's expression. She turned to him, her eyes wide with both excitement and dread. "They're hiding something big," she said, pulling up a holographic display. This convoy was carrying components, massive ones, and they're all heading toward the center of the armada. Whatever they're building, it's critical to their plans. Alex frowned, studying the images. "A weapon?" "Almost certainly," Emma replied. "Based on the size and energy signatures, it could be some kind of superweapon. If they finish it, we won't stand a chance." Ryan Brooks joined them, rubbing his temples. "Great. So not only are we outnumbered and outgunned, but now they've got a doomsday device in the works. Any bright ideas?" Emma hesitated, then nodded. "We disable it before they can use it." Alex crossed his arms, his mind racing. "That's easier said than done. Getting close enough to sabotage it would mean flying straight into the heart of their fleet. Even if we manage to pull it off, there's no guarantee we'll make it out alive." "We don't have a choice," Emma insisted. "If we wait until they deploy it, it'll be too late. This is our best shot." After much debate, the team devised a plan. They would send a small strike team deep into enemy territory, using stealth and speed to infiltrate the area where the weapon was being constructed. The mission was risky, requiring precise timing and coordination, but it was the only way to stop the Krylos from gaining an insurmountable advantage. Jake volunteered immediately, his usual bravado masking the gravity of the situation. "I'll lead the team," he said, cracking his knuckles. "I've already been inside their perimeter once. I know how to stay invisible." Emma shook her head. "You're going to need backup. Someone who understands the tech well enough to disable it properly." She glanced at Ryan. "That means you're coming too." Ryan groaned but didn't argue. "Fine. But if I die, I'm haunting both of you." The night before the mission, Alex gathered the team in the briefing room. "This isn't just about stopping a weapon," he said, his voice low and steady. "It's about showing them that we're not going to back down. No matter what they throw at us, we'll keep fighting. That's who we are." As the strike team prepared to depart, Emma approached Jake and Ryan. "Be careful," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "Don't take unnecessary risks. Just get in, disable the weapon, and get out." Jake smirked, trying to lighten the mood. "Don't worry, Lieutenant. We'll be back before you even notice we're gone." But beneath his confident facade, Jake felt the weight of what lay ahead. As their ship slipped away from the main fleet and headed toward the alien armada, the enormity of the task settled over them. The Krylos ships loomed larger with every passing moment, their cold, metallic surfaces reflecting the light of distant stars. When they reached the construction site, the team moved quickly, avoiding patrols and disabling security systems. Ryan worked tirelessly to dismantle the weapon's core, sweat dripping down his face as alarms began to blare around them. "Almost done," he shouted over the noise. Suddenly, a squad of Krylos soldiers appeared, cutting off their escape route. Jake raised his weapon, ready to fight, but Alex's voice crackled over the comms. "Extraction inbound. Hold your position." Moments later, a human fighter swooped in, blasting the aliens aside and giving the team just enough time to escape. As they sped away from the chaos, Ryan let out a shaky laugh. Well, that was fun. Back aboard the SS Vanguard *, the crew celebrated their success, but only briefly. The superweapon was disabled, but the war was far from over. Still, for the first time in days, there was hope. Humanity had struck another blow, proving once again that even the smallest hornet could sting the mightiest bear. The initial success of Operation Hornet Swarm came at a heavy price. The human fleet had proven it could strike fear into the Krylos Collective, but every victory left scars that couldn't be ignored. Back aboard the SS Vanguard *, Captain Alex Carter stared at the damage reports scrolling across his console. Several ships were beyond repair, their crews either dead or stranded in escape pods waiting for rescue. Among them was Maria Lopez, who had sacrificed herself to save her squadron during a particularly brutal ambush. Maria's final transmission played over and over in Alex's mind. "Get them out of here," she had said, her voice calm despite the chaos erupting around her. Her ship had taken a direct hit while drawing enemy fire away from her teammates, buying them precious seconds to escape. By the time reinforcements arrived, her vessel was nothing more than a drifting hulk of metal. Alex clenched his fists, guilt gnawing at him. He had asked these people to risk everything, and now they were paying the cost. Emma Hayes sat in the corner of the bridge, her face pale and drawn. She had known Maria well, knew her determination, her courage, and her reasons for joining the fight. Losing someone like that was a blow not just to the mission, but to morale. Emma felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her shoulders. It was her plan, her strategy, that had sent Maria and others into harm's way. She tried to remind herself that sacrifices were inevitable, but it didn't make the pain any easier to bear. Tensions flared when Ryan Brooks stormed onto the bridge, his usual gruff demeanor replaced with outright anger. "This isn't working," he snapped, slamming a fist against the wall. "We're losing too many ships, too many people. At this rate, we won't have anything left to fight with." Alex turned to face him, his expression unreadable. "Do you have a better idea?" he asked, his tone sharp. "Because if you do, I'm all ears." Ryan hesitated, his frustration giving way to exhaustion. "No," he admitted quietly, "but we can't keep throwing lives away like this. Every time we lose a ship, it feels like we're one step closer to losing everything." Emma stood up, stepping between the two men. "We knew this wouldn't be easy," she said firmly. "Every life lost brings us closer to stopping them. If we give up now, Maria's sacrifice, and everyone else's, will mean nothing." Her words hung in the air, silencing the argument before it could escalate further. Alex sighed, running a hand through his hair. "She's right," he said after a moment. "We can't stop now. But we also can't afford to lose more people because of mistakes we could have avoided." To address the growing strain, Alex called an emergency meeting with the surviving team leaders. In the cramped briefing room, the mood was somber. Pilots and engineers shared stories of close calls and near misses, their voices tinged with both pride and grief. Jake Monroe spoke up first, his usual cockiness replaced by quiet reflection. "We've been lucky so far," he said, glancing around the table. "But luck runs out. We need to adapt faster than they do." Emma nodded, pulling up a holographic map of the alien armada. "Jake's right. The Krylos are learning our patterns. They're starting to predict where we'll strike next. We need to change things up, hit targets they don't expect, and vary our tactics even more." Ryan leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "That means taking bigger risks. Are we ready for that?" Alex looked at each person in the room, seeing the fatigue etched into their faces, but also the fire still burning in their eyes. "We don't have a choice," he said finally. "If we want to win this war, we have to push harder. Not recklessly, but smartly. We honor those we've lost by finishing what they started." The meeting ended with renewed determination, though the burden of leadership weighed heavily on Alex. As he returned to the bridge, he glanced at the viewport, where the vastness of space stretched endlessly before him. Out there, somewhere, the Krylos armada was regrouping, planning its next move. Humanity's survival depended on staying one step ahead, but how long could they keep it up? For now, the fight continued. And as long as there was breath in their lungs, Alex and his crew would keep fighting. For Earth, for Maria, and for everyone counting on them to hold the line. The alien armada loomed ahead, a sprawling mass of metal and menace that stretched across the stars. The human fleet, small and unassuming in comparison, moved silently through the darkness of space. Captain Alex Carter sat at the helm of the SS Vanguard *, his eyes scanning the tactical display as his ships took their positions. This was it, the moment they had been preparing for. Emma Hayes monitored the communications channel, her fingers hovering over the controls. Every ship in the makeshift armada was ready, their crews tense but focused. "All teams report in," she said, her voice calm despite the storm of nerves inside her. One by one, the pilots confirmed their status, each voice steady and determined. "Team 1 standing by," came Maria Lopez's voice, crisp and clear. "Team 2 ready to strike," added Jake Monroe, his usual sarcasm replaced with quiet resolve. "Team 3 locked and loaded," chimed another volunteer, a former miner named Sam Collins. Alex gave a final nod to Emma before addressing the fleet. "Remember the plan. Hit hard, hit fast, and get out. Stay sharp and trust your teammates. Let's make them regret ever coming here." With that, the first wave of human ships surged forward, their engines glowing faintly against the blackness. They were like ghosts slipping through the gaps between the massive alien vessels. The Krylos collective hadn't seen them yet, too focused on their own formation and too confident in their superiority to expect an attack from such a seemingly insignificant force. The first strike came without warning. A team of 3 modified drones darted toward a supply ship near the edge of the armada. Their weapons fired in quick bursts, disabling the vessel's engines before vanishing into the void. Alarms blared aboard the alien ship, but by the time the Krylos responded, the attackers were already gone. Encouraged by the success, other teams began their assaults. Jake led his group in a daring run against a larger cruiser, targeting its shield generators. The alien ship retaliated with a barrage of energy blasts, but the human ships scattered like leaves in the wind, evading the attacks with practiced precision. "They're slow to react," Jake shouted over the comms, a grin spreading across his face. "Keep moving." Meanwhile, Maria's team struck a second supply vessel, this time aiming for its cargo bay. Explosions rippled across the hull as the stored ammunition ignited, sending shockwaves through the surrounding area. The Krylos commanders scrambled to respond, but their lumbering ships struggled to keep up with the swarming humans. Frustration crackled over their communication channels, translated into broken English by the listening devices Emma had installed. Back on the Vanguard *, Alex watched the chaos unfold with a mix of pride and anxiety. The plan was working, better than he had dared to hope. But every victory came at a cost. One of the converted cargo haulers took a direct hit during a retreat, its engine sputtering as it limped back toward the fleet. "We've got a damaged ship incoming," Ryan reported from the engineering station. "Looks like Team 4 is down 1 vessel." Alex clenched his jaw, but forced himself to stay focused. "Get them patched up if you can. We need every ship we've got." Emma, meanwhile, studied the enemy's movements closely. The Krylos were beginning to adapt, organizing counterattacks to anticipate the hit-and-run tactics. But even so, their frustration was palpable. "They're not used to fighting like this," she said aloud, her voice tinged with satisfaction. "They're trying to box us in, but we're too unpredictable." As the skirmishes continued, the human fleet inflicted significant damage while keeping their losses to a minimum. Each successful strike boosted morale, proving that humanity could stand toe-to-toe with even the most fearsome adversaries, if only briefly. For the first time since the alien threat emerged, there was a glimmer of hope. The Krylos might have numbers and power on their side, but the humans had something else: resilience. By the time the first wave of attacks ended, the alien armada was left reeling. Ships drifted dead in space, their systems crippled or destroyed. The Krylos commanders barked orders in their guttural language, their voices laced with anger and disbelief. Humanity had struck like hornets, stinging again and again before disappearing into the shadows. As the human fleet regrouped, Alex allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. They had won the opening round, but the war was far from over. Still, as he looked at his crew and the volunteers who had risked everything to fight, he felt a spark of pride. Together, they had proven that even the smallest spark could ignite a fire. The days leading up to the launch of Operation Hornet Swarm were a blur of activity. Captain Alex Carter and his crew worked around the clock, transforming the ragtag group of volunteers into a cohesive fighting force. The command center orbiting Jupiter had become a hive of energy, with engineers, pilots, and strategists all doing their part to prepare for the battle ahead. It wasn't just about building ships or arming weapons. It was about creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Lieutenant Emma Hayes stood on the deck of a converted cargo hauler, watching as Jake Monroe finished installing the last of the retrofitted weapons. The ship was far from sleek or polished, but it didn't need to be. Its purpose was simple: strike hard and fast, then vanish before the enemy could react. "Looks like you've done good work," Emma said, giving Jake a small smile. Jake wiped sweat from his brow and grinned back. "Yeah, well, when you're used to patching up smuggler ships with duct tape and prayers, this feels almost fancy." His tone was light, but there was a seriousness in his eyes. He knew what was at stake. Everyone did. Nearby, Chief Engineer Ryan Brooks was inspecting another vessel, this one little more than a mining drone with added thrusters and a plasma cannon strapped to its side. "It's ugly, but it'll fly," he muttered to himself, making a few final adjustments. Ryan had spent hours teaching the volunteers how to maintain these makeshift ships, knowing that even the best plans would fail if the equipment broke down mid-mission. As the fleet began to take shape, Alex gathered the recruits for a briefing. Standing on a makeshift platform, he looked out over the diverse group of men and women who had come together to defend humanity. Some were seasoned pilots, while others had never set foot on a ship before. But they all shared one thing: a determination to protect their home. "This isn't going to be easy," Alex began, his voice carrying across the room. "We're outnumbered, outgunned, and outmatched. But we have something the Krylos don't: heart. We fight not just for ourselves, but for everyone back on Earth. Every hit we land, every ship we disable, brings us closer to victory." He paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "Our strength lies in speed and surprise. We won't face them head-on. Instead, we'll strike where they least expect it, hitting critical targets and disappearing before they can counterattack. This is our advantage, and we have to use it wisely." Emma stepped forward next, holding up a holographic map of the alien armada. "Here's how it will work," she explained, pointing to specific areas on the display. "We'll split into small teams, each targeting a different section of their fleet. Communication will be key. If one team gets into trouble, the others need to adapt quickly. Remember, we're not here to win battles. We're here to disrupt and confuse." The recruits listened intently, many nodding as they absorbed the plan. Among them was Maria Lopez, a retired pilot who had joined the effort after losing her family to an earlier alien attack. Her hands gripped the edge of her seat tightly, her knuckles white. She didn't speak much, but her resolve was evident in her sharp gaze and steady posture. As the meeting ended, Alex pulled Emma aside. "How are you holding up?" he asked, noticing the dark circles under her eyes. "I'm fine," she replied quickly, though her voice betrayed her exhaustion. "Just worried." These people are counting on us, and I don't want to let them down." Alex placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "You won't. You've given them a chance, a real chance. That's more than anyone else could have done." By the time the fleet was ready to launch, the makeshift armada consisted of dozens of ships, each unique in design but united in purpose. As they prepared to leave the safety of the command center, Alex addressed the entire fleet over the comm system. "This is it," he said, his voice steady and strong. "Stay sharp, trust your teammates, and remember why we're here. For Earth, for humanity. Let's show the Krylos what happens when they mess with us." One by one, the ships powered up and moved into formation, their engines glowing against the vast emptiness of space. The operation was risky, unconventional, and far from guaranteed success, but it was humanity's best shot. And as the fleet disappeared into the void, hope flickered faintly in the hearts of those left behind. Back at the human command center orbiting Jupiter, General Nathan Fields stood in front of a large holographic display. The image showed the vast alien armada moving steadily toward Earth's territory. His face was grim as he addressed the room full of military leaders, scientists, and engineers. Everyone knew the stakes. Humanity was outnumbered, outgunned, and running out of time. "We can't win this fight head-on," Nathan said, his voice steady but heavy with urgency. "Their ships are bigger, faster, and more advanced than anything we've got. If we try to meet them in a direct battle, we'll be wiped out before we even get close." A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Many of the officers exchanged worried glances, their minds racing for solutions. But then Emma Hayes stepped forward, her eyes bright with determination. She had spent hours analyzing every piece of data they had on the Krylos Collective, and she believed she had found a way to level the playing field. "What if we don't fight them directly?" Emma began, her voice clear and confident despite the tension in the room. "The Krylos are used to overwhelming their enemies with brute force. They expect us to line up our ships and engage them in a traditional battle. But what if we use their size against them?" Nathan raised an eyebrow. "Explain." Emma moved closer to the hologram, pointing to the largest alien vessels. "These ships are massive, but they're also slow and cumbersome. If we strike quickly and unpredictably, like hornets swarming around a bear, we can harass them without giving them a chance to retaliate. We hit key targets, disable their systems, and disappear before they can respond. Over time, we wear them down." The room fell silent as everyone considered her plan. It was risky, unconventional, and would require perfect coordination. But it was also their best shot at survival. Chief Engineer Ryan Brooks spoke up next. "It's a good idea, but we don't have enough ships to pull it off. Most of our fleet is outdated or damaged. And even if we did have the numbers, our weapons aren't strong enough to take on their shields." Emma nodded, already prepared for this objection. "That's why we need to think outside the box. Instead of relying on big battleships, we use smaller, faster craft. Mining drones, cargo haulers, anything we can retrofit with weapons. Speed and surprise will be our greatest advantages." General Fields leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. He knew Emma's plan was their only hope, but it would take everything they had, and more. "All right," he said finally. "Let's make it happen. I want every available resource diverted to Operation Hornet Swarm. Recruit volunteers, scavenge parts, do whatever it takes. We don't have much time." As the meeting broke up, Alex Carter approached Emma, his expression thoughtful. "You really think this can work?" he asked quietly. Emma hesitated before answering. "I don't know," she admitted, "but it's better than sitting back and waiting for them to crush us. If we can stay unpredictable, keep them guessing, maybe we can buy ourselves enough time to turn the tide." Alex nodded, determination hardening in his eyes. "Then let's get to work." Over the next few days, the command center buzzed with activity. Volunteers poured in from across the solar system. Former smugglers, retired pilots, and even civilians eager to defend their home. Among them was Jake Monroe, who proved invaluable in modifying old mining drones into makeshift fighters. His knack for improvisation turned junkyard scraps into deadly weapons. Meanwhile, Ryan worked tirelessly in the engineering bay, equipping each ship with experimental tools designed to disrupt alien technology. He didn't sleep for 2 days straight, fueled by coffee and sheer willpower. If this works, he muttered to himself as he welded a final piece into place, we might actually stand a chance. Emma spent her time training the new recruits, teaching them how to move swiftly and strike decisively. She drilled them over and over until their maneuvers became second nature. For the first time since the alien threat emerged, there was a glimmer of hope. Humanity wasn't ready to give up. Not yet. The SS Vanguard drifted silently through the cold emptiness of space, its crew tense with anticipation. Captain Alex Carter stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the main screen as a single alien scout ship appeared in the distance. It was smaller than the massive armada reported earlier, but its sleek, angular design radiated menace. The Krylos Collective had arrived ahead of schedule, and now it was time to see if diplomacy could prevent bloodshed. Lieutenant Emma Hayes adjusted her uniform nervously as she prepared to lead the diplomatic envoy. Alex had chosen her for this mission because of her knowledge of alien behavior and her calm demeanor under pressure. Still, even Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this meeting might go terribly wrong. She glanced at Jake Monroe, one of the volunteers who had joined the crew after hearing about the looming threat. He gave her a reassuring smile, though his hand lingered near the blaster strapped to his side. "Remember," Alex said firmly before Emma stepped onto the shuttle, "we're here to talk, not fight. But stay sharp. These aliens aren't known for playing fair." Emma nodded and climbed aboard the small shuttle with 2 other crew members. As they approached the alien vessel, the scout ship loomed larger, its metallic surface glinting ominously in the light of a distant star. The hatch opened, revealing a docking bay, and the shuttle eased inside. The moment the engines powered down, the air grew heavy with tension. When Emma stepped out of the shuttle, she was greeted by towering figures clad in dark, armored suits. Their elongated heads and glowing eyes made them look more machine than living beings. One of the aliens stepped forward, its voice emerging as a series of guttural clicks and hums translated into broken English through a device on its chest. "You speak," the alien rasped, its tone devoid of warmth or curiosity. Emma took a deep breath, forcing herself to remain composed. "We come in peace," she began, raising her hand slightly to show she carried no weapons. "We want to understand why you're here and avoid conflict." The alien tilted its head, studying her with an unsettling intensity. "Conflict. Inevitable," it replied. "Humans, pests, must be removed." Emma's stomach sank. She had feared this response, but hoped against all odds that reason might prevail. "We're not your enemy," she insisted. "There's room in this galaxy for both of us. Attacking us will only lead to unnecessary loss of life." The alien's response was immediate and chilling. With a swift motion, it raised a weapon-like appendage and fired a burst of energy toward the shuttle. The blast missed Emma by inches, striking the wall behind her and sending sparks flying. Her companions drew their weapons instinctively, but Emma held up a hand to stop them. "No," she shouted, her voice trembling. "We don't fire unless fired upon." The alien let out a sound that might have been laughter, though it was impossible to tell. "Weak, foolish," it hissed. "You resist, yet you hesitate. Humans, unworthy." Before Emma could respond, the situation escalated. Another group of aliens emerged from the shadows, surrounding the humans. Jake tightened his grip on his blaster, his jaw clenched. "They're not giving us a choice," he muttered under his breath. Emma knew they were outmatched. "Fall back to the shuttle," she ordered, her heart pounding. "Now." The team retreated quickly, firing warning shots to keep the aliens at bay. The shuttle roared to life just as the alien vessel unleashed a barrage of attacks. Sparks flew as the shuttle shook violently, but Emma managed to guide it back toward the Vanguard *. By the time they docked, everyone was breathing heavily, adrenaline coursing through their veins. Back on the bridge, Alex listened intently as Emma recounted what had happened. His expression hardened as she described the aliens' hostility and refusal to negotiate. So much for diplomacy, Ryan muttered bitterly, shaking his head. Alex stared at the screen, where the scout ship was now retreating to rejoin the main fleet. It's clear now, he said grimly. They don't want peace. They want war. Emma sank into her chair, frustration and fear mingling in her chest. What do we do now? She asked quietly. Alex turned to face his crew, his voice firm despite the weight of the situation. We fight. And we win. In a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from the bright lights of Earth, humanity was struggling to survive. The vastness of space held both promise and danger, and for years, humans had been trying to carve out a place for themselves among the stars. But now, that fragile dream was under threat. Captain Alex Carter stood on the bridge of the SS Vanguard *, staring at the blinking red alert on his console. A message had just come through from Earth's defense network, and it wasn't good news. The report was clear. A massive alien armada was heading toward human-controlled territory. No one knew exactly how many ships were part of the fleet, but early scans suggested it was enormous, far larger than anything humanity had ever faced before. Alex felt a knot tighten in his stomach. He glanced around the dimly lit bridge at his crew, their faces tense with worry. This wasn't just another routine patrol. It was potentially the end of everything they had worked so hard to build. Among the crew was Lieutenant Emma Hayes, a young but brilliant strategist who had spent years studying alien behavior. Her sharp mind and calm demeanor made her a valuable asset, especially in moments like this. Sitting at her station, she quickly began analyzing the data, her fingers flying over the keyboard. Nearby, Chief Engineer Ryan Brooks was already inspecting the ship's systems, muttering to himself about whether the aging vessel could hold up in a fight. Ryan had always been a bit gruff, but everyone trusted him to keep the Vanguard running no matter what. Alex turned back to the main screen, where a map of the solar system flickered faintly. The alien fleet was still days away, but time was not on their side. We need to prepare, he said, his voice steady despite the weight of the situation. If these aliens are coming here, they're not doing it to make friends. Emma nodded, her brow furrowed in thought. Sir, we've seen this species before, the Krylos Collective. They're aggressive, methodical, and they don't negotiate. If they're heading our way, it's because they've decided we're a threat, or worse, an inconvenience. Ryan let out a low whistle. Great. So we're either fighting or running. Which is it gonna be, Captain? Alex didn't answer right away. Instead, he walked over to the viewport, gazing out at the endless expanse of space. Out there, somewhere beyond the horizon of stars, an enemy was approaching. He knew the odds weren't in their favor. The Vanguard was old, its weapons outdated, and its crew small compared to what they might face. Yet, as he looked at his team, he felt a spark of hope. These people were survivors. They had faced impossible odds before and somehow pulled through. Neither, Alex finally replied, turning back to his crew. We're going to meet them head-on, not to fight, but to find out what they want. If there's even a chance we can avoid war, we have to take it. Emma raised an eyebrow. You really think they'll listen? From what I've read, they don't exactly value diplomacy. It doesn't matter, Alex said firmly. We owe it to Earth to try. If this goes south, we'll deal with it then. But for now, we prepare. Ryan, make sure every system on this ship is ready. Emma, start drafting a plan for contact. We're not going down without a fight, but we're also not giving up without a word. As the crew sprang into action, Alex allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. The fate of humanity rested on their shoulders, and while the road ahead was uncertain, one thing was clear: they would do whatever it took to protect their home.